What's the dumbest way you've managed to get laid? Met a girl, asked her out to dinner, and she agreed. Few nights later, we are out. As we were concluding dinner, I tell her the dessert at this restaurant sucks, but I have some better dessert at my place. I was being sincere, as I had some homemade dessert a co-worker's significant other had made me recently, and it was delicious. Still some of the best fudge brownies I've ever had. And I had some vanilla ice cream to pair with it. We go back, and she asks to use the bathroom. I go to the kitchen to prepare dessert. I soon heard her call my name from the bedroom, and the bedroom was connected to the bathroom by the closet, which I found odd. Walking in, the girl is laying there without clothes and in a position of preparedness, for lack of a better term. And I'm standing there dumbfounded with a big bowl full of brownies and ice cream with 2 spoons. The adult time was great, and the brownies afterward were banging. By far, one of my more eventful evenings. In college, a girl I knew was celebrating her birthday at an ice skating rink. She invited me to go, and her boyfriend offered to drive. She introduced me to a new friend of hers, and she and I had to sit next to each other in the back seat of a very small economy car. Now, for the first 30 minutes, she seemed like she didn't care if I lived or died. And I was fine with that, but then she suddenly started talking to me. We got to the skating rink, and she was very talkative and flirty. She was very cute, too. One thing led to another, and in less than a week, we were in bed. The first time we finished doing the deed, I asked her, "What happened? I didn't think that you were interested in me, and then all of a sudden you were. What changed?" She said, "Remember when we were stuck in the car? You folded your arms, and your left hand under your right arm accidentally touched my left breast, and it felt great. That was it, and I didn't even know it had happened." Some girl I hung out with had an older sister who was a true, majestic 10 out of 10, but 6 years older than me. I would flirt with her all the time, but never even got close. I was a senior in high school, so I kind of expected it. One night I saw her at a club, and she ended up needing a ride home with all of her friends. This was before Uber days. Her house was the closest, so I dropped her off first. About 2 minutes after the last girl was dropped off, she texted me asking if I could come back real quick to kill a giant spider in her house because she was freaked out. I drove back. Now at this point I was sort of hoping she was lying to get me to come over, but she led me to her bedroom and lo and behold, showed me an absolutely giant spider. I killed it, but then threw a Hail Mary and said, if there was one, there's probably more, and joked with her that I should stay so I didn't have to waste gas when the rest came out. She laughed, so did I, and said, "Did it work?" Within 30 seconds, we were having the craziest time of my life. Walked into a friend's dorm room to borrow a bottle opener. Didn't know he had 3 to 4 women in his room at the time. I saw a girl with a pretty fantastic posterior, and I said with 100% confidence and conviction, and I quote, "Wow, you have an amazing figure." I got the bottle opener and left the room, didn't say another word. About 10 minutes later, I hear a knock at my door. The girl said 4 words, "You have a girlfriend?" I said no, and that was it. 2 times related to a job I had in college. I worked for a grocery store when I was 19, and one of the worst tasks was closing down where you had to front all the products. For those who have never worked in a grocery store, that's basically where you're pulling all the products on the shelves to the front. It's as simple as it sounds, but it's just annoying and tedious. Anyway, there was a closing manager who would almost never bother me while doing that, so sometimes when done, I would sneak into the dairy cooler. That was my primary working section midday. One of my coworkers noticed and followed me in there to get away, but after a few minutes talking, I realized that was not what she was there for. We made out for a little bit before going back to my dorm. The second occurrence was when my coworker, who became one of my best friends, and I were stalking the section and complaining about the clean shave policy. Being that we were 19 and 20-year-olds, we had finally gotten some actual thick facial hair, and were having to shave it for the job. This woman, who was at least 20 years my senior and drop-dead gorgeous, taps me on the back. I turned around, and she got a good look at me and says, "I can help you fix that." She gives me her number and says, "Call me after your shift, and we'll talk about ways to help it grow back faster." So I did. She gave me her address, and it was the first time I have ever gotten my face ridden. We had our company Christmas party in a skiing region, and somehow our place ended up to be the party chalet, where everybody went after dinner. After the others finally went to their chalets, only us 4 occupants were left. Me, 2 other dudes, and one of our 2 secretaries. There were 3 bedrooms with 2 people each. She complained that my roommate was in her room with her roommate, and she now couldn't go to sleep. So I offered her to let her sleep in my room instead. I think I did so without any ulterior motive, as she wasn't really my type. So we went to bed, talked for a bit, and somehow drunk me decided to lay my arm around her. Asked if she was on birth control, and when she said yes, I banged her. It still turns me on when I think about it, but we never did it again, nor did we talk about it afterwards. So I just picked up my dog from Petco after getting him groomed and ran inside to pay my bill and pick up some dog treats. The girl at the register was clearly having a bad day. We chatted up a bit and she explained that she had just got dumped by a guy over a tattoo. I told her that I was having a crap day too, and if she wanted to give me a call after she was off, I'll buy her a beer. Later that evening, she sent me a text asking if I wanted to see the tattoo that she got dumped over. I said yes, and she then sent me a picture of a pair of wolf paws tattooed on her you-know-what. I just responded, nice. And she then asked if I wanted to see them in person. I just sent her my address, and about 20 minutes later, I had some very awesome adult time. I had my eyes on a woman at a pub for some time, way out of my league as usual, but she was with a group of guys. When she finally was on her own, I went over and chatted her up. It was just too easy, and before you knew it, we were in a cab headed back to my place. The morning after, she started referring to conversations that we never had, and that's when I realized that she'd mixed me up with the guy who was actually going home with from the club. He was probably just going to the bathroom or something. In college at a frat party, I once impressed a girl by being able to speak whatever language she asked me about, pretty much on cue. Now in reality, I was just mumbling noises in the most generic and stereotypical accents imaginable. No real words, no real sentences. Imagine a lot of grunts and slurred words in the worst possible accent. After about 4 exhibits of my multilingual prowess, she was so swooned that she just said she wanted to go back to her place. She kept talking about going traveling together. Only place we traveled was to Pound Town. I was 23 and I had invited an old high school friend over to catch up, hang out, hit the bar with. In an effort to keep an amazing and long conversation going, I had switched to soda, so I didn't get over the top drunk and lose the conversation. We laughed, we got deep, and even taught each other our favorite hobbies we had picked up over the years. It's now 4 a.m. and we'd been chatting about everything, and I finally say that I'm tired and we should probably head to bed. I grab her bag and put it in my room and grab a blanket to head over to the couch. She asked if I wanted to sleep in my bed and then insisted that she could take my bed. Then she asked me again over a text now that I'm lying on the couch and says, "You sure you don't want to come sleep in your bed?" I replied, "No, I promise, you're totally okay. I don't mind the couch." To which she walks out with no clothes on and says, "Take off your pants." We did the deed, and at the time, I was emotionally reckless and tried giving her a kiss when she left the next morning, and she said, no, I just wanted the deed. I don't want a boyfriend. I just got rid of one." Big yikes on that part. My friend introduced me to his friend, who was this hot atmosphere model, the girls who get paid by brands and clubs to go hang out in pools and parties to promote stuff. We never went on a date and our texts were dry. She was clearly not into me. She'd leave me on red for days and then reply out of nowhere because she was bored. She'd make fun of me and be really rude and then ghost me. And then one night she texted me at like 3 a.m. and I had enough. I was acting like her and being obnoxious. I was like, this isn't going to go anywhere, so I'm just going to be a jerk like she was always to me. But for some reason, that did it for her. She came over and we had done it. Like I still have no idea how it ever happened. This is not a story about getting myself laid. It's a story of me being a terrible wingman and still managing to get my friend laid. So I was trying to do a buddy a solid and be a good wingman at the bar one night. I was talking to a girl at the bar while we were getting our drinks for our respective tables, and she leaned over to ask me about my friend. Now, you have to understand my friend. He is a big dumb oaf, but he has a heart of gold. He can also be really funny sometimes. I described some of the things he has done, and she kind of rolled her eyes and went back to her table. So I was kind of feeling bad for not really helping a brother out. About an hour later, we crossed paths again, and while we were talking, my buddy came over to see what was taking me so long with the drinks. He was slightly drunk, and when he saw us talking, he walks over and blurts out, "You want to get a pizza and smash?" As he started to walk away, he then says, "What? Don't you like pizza?" I think he was actually talking to me, but the girl found it so funny she had tears streaming down her face and laughed her drink up her nose. They dated for quite some time, actually. My buddy used to try to do this thing at the bar where he would dance his butt into girls in hope that they'd start dancing with him. It never worked even one time. But one time I was standing on the edge of the dance floor and he was trying to do this thing with a girl, and she grabbed onto me and pulled me into her and whispered in my ear, "Pretend to be my boyfriend," so that my friend would go away. My friend left and I danced with her all night and then spent the rest of the weekend with her. My friend texted me saying she got a flat tire and doesn't know how to change one. Asked her where she was, and it was a 10-minute drive from my place, so I headed over to change her tire. She was really good looking and I never made a move because 19-year-old me believed the whole "she's out of my league" thing, and she was 2 years older and we met through mutual friends. Anyways, I told her it's all good, you can drive back home now. She said, "No, sit in the car, let's get you cleaned up." Now confused, and I said it's fine, I can just go back home, it's no biggie. She said, just sit and chill for a bit. Next thing I know, we were making out, and she got on top, and we had the best time ever. Sadly, though, that did ruin the friendship months later, and we just ended. There was a time my job sent a bunch of 19-year-olds to Chicago to work for a week. Me and 3 female coworkers. There are 2 dumb luck ones on this trip as well. The first was meeting a guest and customer who we were working with and asking about a large bandage that she had on her hip. She said it was to cover a fresh tattoo. I made a joke about her youthful appearance and asked if her parents had signed a waiver because she didn't look old enough. She left and then came back with her ID to prove her age to me and said that she was old enough for a tattoo and to do other adult things too. I played dumb and asked what she meant. She asked when I got off work and where I was staying. Then she showed me what she meant.